topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Are you ready for Insights to Incite? Ready or not, it's showtime. Now get ready to listen in and watch right here on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Join us and together we will escape the mundane. Insights to Incite, here is your host, Brandon Lawson.
This has been described as the enemy's favorite tool to use against you. Friend, I personally want to thank you. Thank you for joining us today. Barring any setback, we will be here next week and every week thereafter for years to come. And I say, that we'll be here, barring any absence, or we'll be here every week without any absence. I mentioned that because I missed some weeks this year. Weeks due to infections, as well as having surgery, and which required a week's stay in the hospital, and a few weeks recovery once I came home. And in light of that has prompted me to start my search to look for financial help in this respect. And in light of this, I am offering some special discounted prices that I put together just for you. Should you want to advertise your church or your ministry, perhaps your business practice, or, it could be, you want to put your show or podcast on, that you want to advertise it on my show. Well, if so, I have put some special prices together just for you. Or should you contact me to invite me to speak, whether it be at a conference, whether it's a seminar or workshop, or maybe it's at your church or something else. If I accept, then there's another special offer there you can see that I've put together just for you. And understand, your advertisement will not air on the show until we're in the new year. And as for me coming to share and speak, while the agreement should be made by the end of this year, the speaking engagement can be for next year. And, yet I do want to mention, if by chance you would have me come and speak, by the end of this month, some point at this year, I have another special gift I will offer you in addition to what you see there on the banner. And also, I should note that these speaking engagements, whether it's this year or next, we're not speaking in terms of a virtual presentation, but this would be live and in person there with you, where we shake hands, rub shoulders, so to speak. But in light of that, I just want to make that known. And today is Thursday, December 9th, and we are on lesson 6 in our series, Issues That Inhibit Us. So, have you had any setbacks as of late? Well, I ask, and if you were here with us last week, I spoke with you about disappointment. And the message I want to share today has close ties to disappointment. Disappointment inhibits us. It keeps us from moving from the sense, sometimes we totally isolate ourselves, but probably what happens more often than not is the fact that, what happens is it sort of grounds us. It stagnates us, killing our motivation. Well, what I want to speak to you about today is, as mentioned, is closely tied to this. And in fact, having a lot of disappointments, whether they come in succession to one another or just a lot of disappointments happen in a short span of time, that has its way of leading us into that which we're talking about, into the subject of today. Having a lot of disappointments one after another constantly, or having so many in a short span of time, will often discourage us. Yes, friend, discouragement is the enemy's favorite tool to use against you. Yes, the enemy knows there is greatness inside of you. And you, my friend, you need to know this. Yes, you need to know this, from the standpoint that, that it needs to be rooted in you in a firm belief that you are indeed great. You have greatness. And you know this beyond a shadow of a doubt. And because you know this, you refuse to roll over and fade into obscurity. Instead, you fight. You fight back and claim your life. You get your life back. As that quote shows, discouragement is the enemy's favorite tool to use against you. He knows there is greatness inside of you. Fight back. Get your life back. One of the most famous speeches given by that war hero that we all have heard of, he was the Prime Minister of England for many years. But I'm speaking of Winston Churchill. One of the most famous speeches he gave was titled, "Don't Ever, Ever Give Up." And for the past couple weeks, ESPN, the Entertainment Sports Programming Network, which is owned by ABC, ESPN has been promoting the Jimmy V campaign. Jim Valvano, the former head coach of the men's basketball team for North Carolina State Wolfpack, he, along with his friend Coach K, the head coach of the Duke Blue Devils men's basketball team, years back started this campaign. And while Jimmy Valvano has since passed, there is another well-known name in college basketball, especially among the commentators and analysts, Dickie V, or you might know him as Dick Vitale. Dick Vitale, when this campaign first started, he was a big proponent of it, just really very instrumental in promoting it and helping to raise funds. And now, as you may have heard, Dickie V, Dick Vitale is a cancer patient. He himself has cancer. But Jim Valvano, when this was first campaigning to bring this to light, this research that he was doing, he spoke of, don't ever, he spoke, and at the end of his address, he said, don't ever, ever, ever give up. I believe Valvano realized when the battle is long and arduous, and when we are faced with what seems to be insurmountable odds, well, it has its way of causing us to give up. And the problem is, when we give up, many times the issue is not just that we stop, for sometimes we need to stop. We need to stop striving. But the issue is that when we stop, many times we accept defeat. And that is something we never want to do. While there are times where we need to stop striving and just be still, never should we accept defeat. Yes, don't ever accept defeat. And if at the present you are discouraged, don't speak of it. Speak of better things. Don't speak of your discouragement, for when you do, you call it in. And don't ever do that. And the scripture alludes to this very fact. In Proverbs 18, verse 21, as you can see here, it has, death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruit. Yes, you can speak death or you can speak life in the words you speak. What you go around talking about. And you will eat its fruit. That is to say, you will consume the very thing that you speak of. So if we go around and talk about discouragement, we just add to it, and we're giving more and more life to it. Speak of better things and give life to that. Yes. Well, friends, when it comes to discouragement, you know, we could have 25 people lined up, and it's possible, very possible, that all 25 of us could tell of a different route that we traveled that took us into that state we know as discouragement. Yet today, I want to key in on 3 of ours. Yes, these are instances tied to us. So when we come back, we're going to dive into this and look at this further. But at this moment, we're going to step away to our first commercial break. We'll be right back.
Are you on the edge of your seat and wanting more? Stay tuned as we go on a quick break, and we'll be right back with more Insights to Incite with Brandon Lawson right here on W4CY Radio and Talk 4 TV. Are you seeking a speaker or coach who speaks life into your people? If so, look no further. Brandon Lawson is one who will inspire and motivate his audience, as well as empathize and relate to all. Reach out to Brandon and let him be your speaker and life coach by sending an email to brandon@connectandimpact.net or by calling him at 513-708-1517. Brandon looks forward to speaking with you, to you, and for you. Let's connect and impact today. Insights to Incite, a real show with real-life messages. This show, which can be found on radio, TV, and our podcast, gives us insight to incite us to action and to excellence. Watch and or listen to Insights to Incite live at noon Eastern Time every Thursday on W4CY Radio and Talk 4 TV. Check out our past episodes on iHeartRadio, YouTube, or anywhere you listen to your podcast. Join us each week, and together we will escape the mundane. We are back with more Insights to Incite, so get ready and tune in to listen and watch. Now, once again, let's join Brandon Lawson.
So, as mentioned, we each have different routes we travel that can take us into the state of discouragement. And today, I want to key in on 3 of ours. These instances, the first one is tied to our skills. When I speak of our skills, I'm talking about our competency, and for instance, a batter, who has struck out 8 of the last 9 times, or perhaps he's in a hitting slump altogether. It may not be that he strikes out every time, but he has only managed to reach base twice out of his last 33 plate appearances. Or you look at that basketball player who missed his first 12 shots. Or, you think of the quarterback that 5 of the last 6 passes that he's thrown and 13 of the last 15 that he's passed, have been completed, yet was completed to a player on the opposing team. Think about that. 5 of the last 6 passes you've thrown have been intercepted, and 13 of the last 15. Well, you often hear, especially in the sport of basketball, if a player is missing several shots in a row or hardly made any, maybe made some, but it was very low amount considering how many times he shot. You might hear it being said that it's become mental. It's in his head. He's not just his natural reflex is shooting. He's thinking more about it. And that has its way of causing even a greater struggle. And in effect, what it does is it keeps him in that rut. Instead of breaking loose, the very fact that he keeps thinking about it keeps it, that disappointment, that discouragement present and alive. And Pema Kadron realized this. And, I like how she put it. She noted that resistance to unwanted circumstances has the power to keep those circumstances alive and well for a very long time. You see, when we have such resistance, it's while that may seem good and it can be good, we're thinking, I don't want that, I don't want that, I want that. But as we think about it, we're giving life to it and it stays present, especially if we speak of it. The thoughts can do it as well, but when you actually speak of it in addition to thinking, that's where you truly give life to the whatever it is that's bothering you or whatever state you're in, such as discouragement. And our second one we look at is our situations. These have to do with our circumstances. If, for instance, the last 5 times you traveled down to Georgia, you've been caught in a major traffic mess. And you thought that going different routes, along the way would help. Or, perhaps you could avoid that mess. You could go around it and not be caught in it. But nope. Every time, whether it be on the way down there or on the way back, you've been in a major traffic mess, traffic jam. Whether it been in the city down there in Georgia or it be along the interstate, wherever it was, you seemingly cannot pass by without, you cannot make your way there without running into some mess, some jam of traffic. And the third one has to do with our species, and of course I'm talking to people. So in light of this, we're speaking of relationships. For instance, say the last 6 relationships that you've had, each one has ended abruptly. 2 of them, left unexpectedly. One of those individuals left supposedly because of his career, caused him to move. But 2 of them left unexpectedly. Then there was one that actually passed away. Then you found out that the other 3 cheated on you. I mean, going through all this, and, that's just, it has its way of discouraging us. I mean, one bad after another. Or perhaps, you look at the people you've hired. Of the last 5 people you've hired, only one has managed to last more than 6 months. And the total, for all 5 of them in terms of how long they've lasted, hasn't even reached 10 months. And you're back at square one again. You're looking for that person to hire. You're looking for the one who you can hire to do the job and will stay the course. Having this kind of stuff, whether we talk about, our skills, our situations, our species, these have their way, with experiencing one setback, one disappointment after another, have their way of discouraging us. And, this is not something any of us would love to have or enjoy having. So that brings us to the obvious question. What are we to do about it? What can you do about it? What can I do about it? We, as mentioned before, we don't want to accept it. Don't accept disappointment. Don't accept defeat. No, refuse it to take residence. Refuse it to take up residence within you. So, what is it that we can do? Well, I want to share a couple pieces of advice. And first is involve yourself in a worthwhile cause. This could be working with a nonprofit organization, where you play a part in serving, whatever their cause is, whatever it is that they, are their focus is. You are, a part of it and helping to carry it out. Or this could be with a specific individual, but whichever it is, however you go about doing it, be an instrumental part in bringing about and producing positive change. Change, the word itself often seems like a nasty word to many of us. We think of it and, it's not something we totally enjoy, so, but if it's positive change, it's for good, then we can see how that change is every bit worthwhile. So be that instrument that helps to bring about this, to produce this positive change. And so you may ask, how would this help me? How would this help you in standing strong and refusing to accept defeat? Well, I want to share 3 ways that this can be of help to you. First is it occupies you. Yes. And I'm not talking about, you don't have a job and this will occupy you or that, but I'm talking about it occupies your mind. I'm sure you've heard, a statement that says, an idle mind is the devil's workshop. When we're idle, that's again often when we're discouraged. We become stagnant. We don't have that motivation. As a result, we're stagnant, we're idle. And if we become idle, we start thinking of all the things that brought us to into this state of discouragement. Well, if you're producing positive change, then you can combat that to where you come to enjoy life more. You are not, living, sort of swimming in the pool of discouragement. So it occupies you is number 1. The second way is it provides you. It provides you the much needed joy. Yes, joy. Joy, my friend, is a form of strength. And who doesn't want joy? There may be some that don't want you to have joy, but which of us would say, I don't want any joy? Which of us would choose misery over joy? We all want joy. We all want to enjoy life. And when you help to produce positive change, you can bring that about. You can make that happen. We need to step forth and create joy, produce joy for ourselves and others. We can't just wait for it to come on its own, and think that by happenstance it will just make its way to us and stop right with us. No, we need to be intentional about it. And that is what you are doing when you involve yourself. You're being intentional about creating positive change, and you reap the benefits of joy. You reap the benefits of, having more influence, of being a leader, being thought of as a person that others would go to or look up to. That's what it does. It provides you that much needed joy. And third, it keeps you. Yes, it keeps you. It keeps you where, you might ask? Well, I'm not speaking of anywhere. It keeps you safe. It, in effect, it protects you. It keeps you safe by holding the disappointments at bay. When you are involved in producing positive change, that doesn't mean there won't be disappointments or things that go wrong or that life will be all good and well. No, not so. That's not what that means, but it helps to keep it at bay. Friends, it's not so much what happens, not so much what happens to me as it is what happens in me. Yes, it's been said ships don't sink because of the water around them. Ships sink because of the water that gets in them. Don't let what's happening around you get inside you and weigh you down. And hasn't history itself shown this to be true? I mean, think of it. Which of us, unless you're a little child at this time, you haven't been here on Earth very long, anyone of age, which of us has not heard about the Titanic? Yes. Why did the Titanic sink? Well, there's various things that come into play that they believe. One was they missed a call that was put out about an iceberg to avoid it, and thus they took a fatal wrong turn. They, some say it's weather conditions, and others say there's something else that could have caused it. But you know whatever it was that caused it to hit the iceberg itself is what in effect caused it to sink because the iceberg cut into it and water got into it. And it wasn't the water on the sea that sunk them, the water that's around it. It was when that water came in. That's when it sunk. It could not stay afloat because the water got in it. And us, there could be all kinds of bad going on around us. But it's key that we do not let it get in us. We can't stop what goes on around us. We can take preventive measures here and there to maybe minimize the bad that we experience or that goes on around us, but we can't. We're not God. We have no way of stopping it altogether from happening around us. But through practice and through focus, we can keep it at bay. Yes. So that is how, involving yourself will help you to stand strong and to not allow disappointment to come in, to not accept disappointment or defeat. And the second piece of advice I have in light of this and what we're, speaking of what we can do, the second piece is to detach yourself. Yes, detach. Stay detached and don't overextend yourself. And, yes, we should be involved, as I just mentioned in that first piece, but we need to learn how to be involved yet not attached. When we become attached to something, as I spoke of last week, I gave 3 words that, are very closely tied to disappointment. And those 3 words, as you may recall, were associate, assume, and attach. Now, who is it that we associate ourselves with? Are we associating with those who are negative and have their way of bringing us down? Do we make that mistake of assuming and placing assumptions which have expectations tied to them? and ineffective, where those expectations are attached to it, those things would disappoint us. They lead to discouragement. So be involved, yet not attached. And, you know, as we consider this, I mean, it's been said the world, yes, the world does not yield, Roxy, can you put that up? Yes, the world does not yield to changing. By its very nature, it is painful and transient. See it as it is and divest yourself of all desire and fear. When the world does not hold and bind you, it becomes an abode of joy and beauty. You can be happy in the world only when you are free of it. By all means, yes, by all means, attend to your duties. Action in which you are not emotionally involved and which is beneficial does not cause suffering and will not bind you. You may not be engaged in several directions and work with enormous zest. You you may be engaged in several directions and work with enormous zest, yet remain inwardly free and quiet, with a mirror-like mind which reflects all without being affected. As you see in that speaks of being involved, but you're not attached. You're not so invested in it that it's a part of you. You divest yourself. Keep yourself free of it. You can be involved, have something to do with it, but don't become attached to it. Make sure you stay detached. And we also, don't want to overextend ourselves because, when you try to make things better for many people, and we have a slide here to show when you try to make things better for a lot of people, you may end up making things worse for yourself. A little self sacrifice is noble, but depriving yourself of too much will only leave you depleted. By that time, most people wouldn't even realize that you need anything because you're the one who has always given. Take care of yourself. Self preservation is not selfish, it's essential for living a full and happy life. And as you see, we try to make things better for a lot of people, and we do this, we do that, we're overextending ourselves. We're pulled in so many different directions, and we're, constantly looking to take care of others. And in doing so, we don't even take care of ourselves. And, we have being so focused in helping others, if we're not careful, has its way of neglecting oneself to where we end up suffering. Our health goes down. Maybe it's not physical health. Maybe it's a mental thing. You become discouraged, as we're speaking of, or it could even start to affect your bank account. Whether it's medical bills, or hospital doctor visits, or just you start buying things thinking that will help you to have more joy because it's something you wanted, and so you spend money that you otherwise wouldn't have. It'd be that discontentment has its way of getting us to believe these lies that if only you had this, you'll be happy. Well, you get that, then you're happy for a little bit, then you need this, then you get that, and again, it's a cycle that repeats itself. And each time you get something, money goes out. Next thing you know, you might be in overdraft, or you don't have enough money to pay your mortgage, or what have you. So, but there's a proverb that speaks of this that also comes from the 18th chapter. Earlier, we looked at Proverbs 18:21, and in 18:24, it says in the English Standard Version, "A man of many companions may come to ruin, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother." And that man of many companions that I speak of, That, you know, is like, you trying to make things right for so many. You're pulled this way, that way, that way, that way, that way, that way, that way. You're constantly, pulled left and right. And, you eventually come to ruin. It's better. I think we would agree it's better to have five true friends, people that are in your corner, you're in their corner, you're really invested in one another, you know. Not in, what's going on around us. That's where we need to divest ourselves, but in one another, we are invested. We truly care about one another. We have each other's back. It's better to have five of those than have 25 or more, acquaintances or people but you're not truly connected to. So, friends, you know, involve yourself, yet do not attach yourself. Stay detached and don't overextend yourself. You got to be careful there. Got to know when to draw the line. We don't want to, you need to know when too much is too much and not enter into that. Stay within the proper, boundaries, those parameters that allow you to be effective, that allow you to be, involved and influential, or you can have positive impact, or you can be instrumental in producing positive change. Yet we're not, overextended. We're not attached to what's going on. Yes. Friends, we're going to be stepping away in a minute here, just to our second commercial break. But when we come back, I want to sort of review and then hint at one other thing before we close our show. But right now, we're going to step away to our second commercial break, and we'll be right back.
Wow, that was insightful. Stay tuned as we go on a quick break, and we'll be right back with more Insights to Incite right here on W4CY Radio and Talk 4 TV. Are you seeking a speaker or coach who speaks life into your people? If so, look no further. Brandon Lawson is one who will inspire and motivate his audience, as well as empathize and relate to all. Reach out to Brandon and let him be your speaker and life coach by sending an email to brandon@connectandimpact.net or by calling him at 513-708-1517. Brandon looks forward to speaking with you, to you, and for you. Let's connect and impact today. Insights to Incite, a real show with real-life messages. This show, which can be found on radio, TV, and our podcast, gives us insight to incite us to action and to excellence. Watch and or listen to Insights to Incite live at noon Eastern Time every Thursday on W4CY Radio and Talk 4 TV. Check out our past episodes on iHeartRadio, YouTube, or anywhere you listen to your podcast. Join us each week, and together we will escape the mundane. We are back with more Insights to Incite, so get ready and tune in to listen and watch. Now, once again, let's join Brandon Lawson.
So, there we have it. We each will travel different routes that lead us into the state of discouragement. And in these routes, there's three ways that we are, that will often play a part in bringing about that, and leading us into the state of discouragement. And those three I mentioned are three of ours. And I mentioned that because, if you could put that up for us. Yes, there we go. I mentioned the three of ours: our skills, competencies, our situations, occurrences, our species, relationships. And, those have their way of leading us to the state of discouragement. Almost, um, they do it, in such a way that's very subtle. We experience, the disappointments that come because of we lacking competencies, or because of the occurrences that show up, that, or the relationships that we have, or thought we had. Yet, many times we don't really we we don't realize that we're on the path, we're traveling to that state until we're already there. So that's why we need to be active, be intentional about involving ourselves. You know, involve yourself, but stay detached. Don't overextend yourself. You know, don't allow yourself to be pulled in so many different directions, or even if it's only to one or two, don't allow yourself to be, over the top into it. We need to learn to be involved, but to stay detached, to divest ourselves. Because when we're free of it, then we can enjoy life. We can enjoy the world, the circumstances, the life that we've created, that we've helped to create. Friends, we're about to conclude today's show. And with that said, I want to again mention about the specials that I'm offering. Whether it be if you want to advertise on my show, your advertisements would be here starting, at the beginning of next year, or you call on me to come and speak. And the engagements for speaking could be at some point next year. Yet these specials I'm offering are good through the end of the year. So, we would want to have that agreement put together. You call, speak to me, and have that agreement done by the end of this year. But the speaking engagement can be next year. Yet, if the speaking engagement is this month, and you have me come in, again, none of this is virtual. This is live and in person, there where I can meet you and shake your hand and speak to your people. And if you have me come and do that this month, then in addition to the special prices, which I will grant to you, there will also be another special that I will give you. And do you want to know more about it? I hope so. Whether it be about me speaking or about you advertising on my show, either way, call me. Call Brandon. You can reach me at 513-708-1517, or you can email me at Brandon, Brandon, at connectandimpact.net. There you have it. Brandon at connectandimpact.net. Friends, I know that, there's things that I'll say that I truly believe. I mean, I wouldn't say it if I didn't, but there's things that I say that, you probably don't agree with. The way you see things is different than I. Hopefully there is some agreement, but there's bound to be some things that we disagree on. We'll never see, whoever you are, whoever, is hearing this, myself and you, will never see things eye to eye all the time. Yet still, I want to invite you to join me every Thursday here on W4CY Radio and Talk 4 TV. We are here at 12 noon Eastern. Join me for Eye to Eye, Insights to Incite. I thank you for being here today, and we hope to see you next week. Thanks.
Wow, what an insightful show. Thanks for listening in and watching today. If you missed any part of today's show or any other episode, check it out on iHeartRadio, YouTube, or anywhere you listen to your podcast. Now take today's insight and utilize it. Incite yourself to action and to excellence in the week ahead, and join us again next Thursday and every Thursday at 12 noon Eastern Time for another insightful session with Brandon Lawson as he speaks to us and shares some more insights to incite right here on W4CY Radio and Talk 4 TV.